Welcome, everyone. This is Coaching in Session. My name is Michael Reardon, and I will be your mindset coach today. And today we're going to be talking about how to transform your life the easy way. Now, there is no easy way. I'm going to just break it there. There is no easy way to transform your life, but there is an easy process. Because when we're looking at transforming our life, there's going to be key factors and things that have to be in place for us to do it. Maybe fitness can be number one. Maybe the type of mindset, the people we surround ourselves with, that all is going to correlate to if we can transform our life. You might think that the people around you don't play a significant role, but they do. If you have a bad partner, bad family members, bad friends, you're going to find that you're going to be less active and more prone to comfort and to complacency. So you need to make sure that you can rise from the ashes of your failures and from the moments of pity, of selflessness, of low self-worth. Whatever you're struggling with, you can begin to change that result today. You can change that circumstance today. Many people live life with and through their circumstances. They move like sheep. They're just like corralled by a shepherd, and the shepherd doesn't know what they're doing. Or they're corralled by a shepherd dog, and the shepherd dog has never been trained to corral sheep. So what's happening is everyone's just kind of gradually going closer and closer to a cliff, and eventually all those sheep that have been corralled will have no choice but to leap to their demise. But we have an option today. We can choose to be people who don't simply follow the crowd. We can be people who have a say in what we can accomplish and what we do in our days. We can attain our dreams. We can transform our life. Not everyone is going to want to live that life, because it's not going to be a life that is as easy as living in complacency or living in fear. That's easy because you don't need any action. You don't need any courage. You don't need any confidence. You can just be what you are. And whatever you are, whatever comes, that is what you are. That is what you get. But many people, they want the good life. Many people, they want good things in their life, but yet they don't do the actions. Yet they don't do the things that are going to change their life. So how can we begin to change our life? How can we begin to start to ask the right questions? Where do we begin to look? That is what we're going to be talking about today in the interview with Clifford Starks and myself. Clifford Starks is a transformational coach, and he's going to be helping us understand, learn, and transform our life. So let's get into that interview with Clifford and myself. Welcome, Clifford Starks, to Coaching in Session. How are you doing today?
Doing well. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Of course. Thanks so much for coming on today. I have you on as a transformational coach, and you have a great history. We are going to be talking about that in a minute. But when we look at leadership, when we look at mindset, when we look at personal growth and development, it all stems from an upbringing of discipline. And you have great discipline. We are going to be talking about that, as I said. But without me talking about your whole biography, let's get into that. Please tell the people who you are, what you do, and how you help.
Yeah, my name is Clifford Starks. I'm a transformational coach. I focus on helping business leaders scale and grow their businesses. And the way I do that is a variety of thinking about things differently and also marketing in a way that matters to the people that they serve.
Yes, and that is a very important job, because when you are a high achieving executive leader, CEO, we need to have people alongside or at our table that also challenge us, because it could be difficult when you finally get to a spot, a role, when you are the top dog, you're the manager, and you just see yourself as, okay, people need to listen to me. But I'm a big fan of, you have to walk the walk, you have to talk. And if you are a leader that no one wants to follow, you're going to have a high turnover rate. And I mean, that's just one of the many problems. But when we begin to look at transformation, right, let's get down to the basics, because I know many people who listen to the podcast, they're trying to change their life. They're trying to learn how to begin. And they might always be looking at, well, how can I make it, or how can I transform my life in the easiest way possible? What does that look like for a new client? Maybe someone who's not a high achieving executive, maybe someone just like a regular Joe. How do they begin to transform their life?
Yeah, absolutely. First, I want to say congratulations for showing up. If you're looking to change your life, you're actually looking for sources to make that a reality. That's 80% of it. So you're already doing a great job if that individual. And then the second piece is what exercises do I practice to make this a reality sooner than later? And two very accelerating exercises I would say is one, environment. Are you in the right environment? Are you around the right people? Are you doing the things like you want something? So ask yourself, well, what is it that I want? And am I in the environment to even make that a reality? And then the second piece is participation. And so when you're participating within that environment, you're growing into the person that you want to grow into to become the person you want to become.
And you must be able to read my mind because I just wrote a blog on that about who you surround yourself with. And I know there's so many great quotes on it, like you are the product of the 5 to 10 people you surround yourself with. And I think this is difficult for people because they might be around friends, family members that have a fixed mindset. And it's difficult to relinquish them or to separate because you feel that you have a certain obligation to them. I want to get into a conversation with you about the obligation of friendship or the people who have been in your life. Is it something that we need to hold on to, or should we readily get rid of relationships that no longer serve us?
That's a great question. And that's super cool that you wrote that blog, by the way. Shout out to you on that. What I would say is not saying people are vehicles by any means. So I don't want anyone to get that thought. But we use different things for different results, right? Like we use a fork to maybe grab at noodles, and we use a spoon to serve up soup. And we wouldn't use a fork for soup, and we wouldn't use a spoon for noodles. And I don't say it's not about getting rid of people because I love people. I think everybody has their own purpose and they serve on your mission. But the question is, what's more important? This quote unquote friendship that you have that's keeping you from your dream, or having people who want to see you succeed at your dream? Because ultimately, if I'm someone's friend, I want them to win no matter what. Wouldn't you want to surround yourself with someone who wanted you to win no matter what versus someone who's saying, hey, bro, hey, dude, you're not hanging out with me anymore. And we used to do this, we used to do that. Like, no, care about the person. Hey, what are you doing now? What you got on your plate? How can I serve you? And so you'll get a list of people, and you got to ask yourself the question, am I hanging around the people who are serving me best for where I want to go? And if I'm not, what do I have to change about that?
I always say people are seasons. Sometimes you could be vibing with a person in high school, and this is for my, younger listeners. Maybe you graduate and you're hanging around summer, you're doing things, but then you go off to college. Maybe you guys go off to different colleges. Maybe one goes into career, profession, starts working, and you start to see that you start to move away from each other. And it's not so much on purpose. It's just that you're going down a different path. And I always say that you shouldn't be upset that you're going down a different path, in that you can't just be the same friend as you were. It was a season. And it's not that that person is a bad person. As you said, people are not vehicles, but it could be a moment in your life where you take that relationship, you take that friendship, and you grow from there. I think sometimes people, they have a negative connotation when it comes to friendship, where they think it's a lifelong commitment, like it's forever. That's marriage. But if you want to be married to your friends, that's a mindset too. But when you have friends and you have peers and you have mentors and you have coaches, those people are going to help build you up. What I have found is that if you try to hold on to these said friends that are not on the path or going where you want to go or have the same mindset as you, you're going to find that you're going to have a lot of hardship along the way. And the hardship is going to come from them trying to hold you back, because they're going to see that you're doing really well, that you're elevating yourself, that you're becoming successful, that you're becoming disciplined. And then those said friends that were once with you now are a little bit further than you. They're going to try to hold you back. They're going to be that anchor in your life. And they're going to say, wait, don't leave without me. Or they're going to say, that's a stupid idea. And they're going to try to bring you down and belittle you. But when you surround yourself with people, as you said, how can I serve you? How can I let you win or make you win? That's the right types of friendship. But there's a lot of wrong friendships where people allow these friends to be toxic to be anchors in their life, how can we start to discern those relationships? Because I know it's hard when you have a bond, especially blood family, and difference between someone like yourself who's uplifting, serving. How can I serve you? How can I help you be successful? I want to see you succeed and I know you want to see me succeed. Versus today, most friendships, I would say the majority of them are, how can I win? And I'm not so much worried about my other friends. So I want to get into a conversation on that.
Yeah, I love how you said have a bond. And there's a saying, blood is thicker than water. And a scholar actually retranslated that to the blood, sweat, and tears that you go through with someone is thicker than the water of the womb. And so, what that brings to me is when you go through enough with somebody, you're going to be more attached to that person. Now, that can be a good thing or a really bad thing. If you're bonded to someone that served you at one time and no longer serves you in the way that you need to be served, now it's about, are you willing to break the bond? And I would be lying to say if it was just easy. Because if everything was easy, everyone would be millionaires, everyone would have six packs, everyone would be doing what they're looking to do. The world is a challenge, but what is challenging now can become easy later. And so we got to really, really define what is it that we want and really call ourselves out. Coaches are great at that, by the way. I've been coached since I was very, very young. I actually coach naturally by myself just because I've been around so many coaches on my journey. So that's one thing is like ask yourself, be intentional and say, am I doing the things that I really need to be doing to be where I want to be? Or am I just used to the comfort? And we all get used to the comfort sometimes in one form or another. Netflix, video games, other things, consuming things that don't really necessarily serve us. Because we're not taught how to effectively use these brains, right? We're taught the basics of what life, unquote, life is. And then we're set out into the wild. It's like, all right, go figure it out. Go do your thing. Good luck. And you start seeing like, holy crap, this game was harder than I thought that it was. But what's really, really cool, it's not about working harder. It's about working in your truth and working smarter within your truth. That's a lesson that I'm never going to stop learning as I'm going through the journey myself.
Yeah, it's difficult sometimes for people to move through life and they don't have a decent outside voice helping them along the way. And I say decent because there's not going to be a perfect answer sometimes for every solution. Sometimes it's going to be a trial and error type of thing because I don't know a person. I don't know what type of passions you have truly. Like you can tell me what you want to tell me, especially like for clients. Sometimes I have clients lie to me. And I'm like, why are you lying to me? Like, I want to help you. Tell me everything. Tell me the truth, right? I'm not going to go on Facebook and on social medias and blast you. Like, that's not my role. My role is to help you the best I can. And we have been lying to ourselves for so long because, as you said, life is not easy. We give ourselves a blanket. We give ourselves the comfort zone. We give ourselves ideas that everything is going to be okay by not taking action, right? So we have a passive lifestyle. Most people are not willing to transform their life into something better, to be honest. Most people are just going to be complacent. They're going to take their 9 to 5, they're going to live in their rat race, and they're going to wonder why they're not happy. And they're going to hope and wish that someone can come save them. They're going to hope and base their life on luck and circumstances when they should be taking control. As you said, you have been a person who has been coached for quite a long time, and each of those coaches have instilled something within you. I find that regardless of the coach, each coach has a level of wisdom that they can instill in you. You don't have to pick just one, you could pick several. What is a question or some advice that a coach from your past, or maybe a coach of today, if you have a coach today, that has helped transform your life?
For me, it's so interesting because life's really simple and complex all at the same time. And I think the best coaches that I've had were the ones who could see me and the ones who could hear me, really, really see me and hear me. And they did that by actually doing it. One of my bigger struggles was being overweight. I was an overweight kid. I really, really loved food. I was addicted to it. And I got into athletics because I wanted to prove that I could beat this thing. And then after I beat the first thing, there was another thing to beat. And then I got into a space where you just, you flow. You become a creator and a powerful creator. What my coaches instilled in me is they let me know that I could be and do whatever I wanted to be and do. Now, I had other coaches who gave me a reminder that, yes, although I can be and do anything and everything, I can't do it all at once. It's about figuring out, okay, you want to do that? Which one are you going to pick? What are you going to choose? Because we're given 24 hours a day. And if we're trying to kind of do a bunch of stuff, we're stretching ourselves so thin, we end up getting nothing done. And so I got better and better at prioritizing. And I got better at prioritizing and using leverage. And that was on my entrepreneurial journey. And I learned how to, oh, I can use a team. And oh, a team can support me. And holy crap, I can apply pressure to something and they'll apply pressure with me to make something even more magical, something more powerful than it would have been by if I would have just applied pressure by myself. And so I've had so many coaches on my journey who ultimately the biggest lesson I could say is awareness. Because when you know what you can do and you know what you can't do, that's power. Because now you can utilize it. You can say, oh, well, I want to be able to do this. I want to be able to utilize this thing I couldn't do before. Or I can't do it, but I know someone who can.
Yeah. Awareness is key. I always say you have to be able to walk the walk and talk the talk, especially if you're a coach. I hold my words there to a flame. I make sure I do them too. For example, as a mindset coach, I do many different types of coaching styles, relationship coaching, career coaching, things along those lines. And I would relinquish any of those coaching if I cannot show up in those coaching. For example, relationship. I'm married 3 years, have a child together, and we have a great relationship. I don't have to say that we're happily married and things like that. I don't have to tell people I'm married. I don't have to post pictures on social media. We just are good, right? I don't see that changing. Of course, I know the 7-year itch and there's going to be hiccups and there's life circumstances that can always get in the way, but communication is going to be there. And if I can fail, or if I do fail in my relationship and I'm no longer able to sustain my relationship for whatever reason, maybe infidelity, just not showing up, keeping good communication, to be honest, I will take that relationship coaching off my website and I won't do it anymore because I messed up. And I would still write blogs and things along those lines to talk about where I messed up so people can learn from my mistakes. And I know there could be an aspect of teaching people, this is where I messed up. I know there's a very popular divorce attorney, and he was married and he's divorced now. He's able to give people, he wrote a book, bestseller. He's able to do that. But at the same time, he's not looking for another relationship because he understands the implication of marriage and relationships today. And so he's like, I'm staying away from that. I already told my wife, I was like, listen, I was like, till death do us part. If this doesn't work, I'm not getting married again. I don't care if I find love. It's just not going to be, because I hold myself to a high regard. If I cannot walk the walk and talk the talk of that commitment till death do me part, then I have no right to train people in that, because there are people who commit to marriage, who are there through the thick and the thin. Those people, I believe, should be the forerunners in teaching people how to have a strong, healthy relationship. Yes, I failed. You can learn from my mistakes, but use that as a stepping stone to get to the person who's doing it every single day. That's just my 2 cents on that, because I want to get into the question of, we talked about what makes a good coach. We talked about the good questions. We talked about the awareness, about coaches that can see you, can see the possibilities within yourself. But I want to ask, well, what is a bad coach? Because sometimes you can get a bad coach. There's so many life coaches today in the world, so many transformational coaches, I'm sure, that you work with, deal with, see, and you might say, well, they're not my cup of tea, or maybe they shouldn't be anybody's cup of tea. What would you say makes a bad coach? And it might not be one thing, it could be several things.
That's a great question. I think what makes the worst kind of coach, so if awareness takes the best kind of coaches, then unawareness is what makes the worst kind of coaches. Being in a position to say, like, and give a perfect example, thank you for sharing that too. You're talking about you have a standard, and if you're not meeting the standard, you don't want to do that anymore. Now, there could be a person who decides they want to be a relationship coach because they're good at failing. So they're really good at telling you what not to do. But if they're completely unaware, they're just randomly giving you things and say, oh, good luck, go figure it out. It's like, oh crap, like I'm screwing up. And they're so unaware, they don't even know, like, oh, well, you must be doing something wrong because I'm the coach and I know everything that I'm talking about. There's nothing more dangerous than being unaware. And I'll tell you, just as I've learned from what to do from the right people, I've also learned what not to do from the wrong people. They are teaching me something. And when I look, I'm like, well, I don't want to show up like that. Holy crap, I don't want to do that. This blatant unawareness is so dangerous because it's like when I fought in the UFC, if I just kind of randomly walked into the cage and I'm like, what am I doing in here? Like, how did I get in here? And like, it wouldn't have happened. It's an impossibility. But they can also bring you lower and lower and lower and dig you into the sand that you have to get yourself out of. And you don't even know that you have to get yourself out of it because you were listening to the coach who was helping you go into it in the first place. In a long, drawn out, winded answer, like that would be a bad coach to me. Someone who's so unaware of what they're doing that they're just randomly doing things and maybe helping two people out of luck and hurting 98.
When I started the podcast, quality control is really big for me in the podcast. I choose all my guests. I do all the interviews, of course, and I make sure after the interview is done that it was a quality interview, not just like sound and things along those lines, but this person can help somebody. If this person cannot help somebody, they do not air. It's in the information on the invites and things like that. If you read all the way down, I have the complete right to use the clips, to not air a show, even if we spend an hour together recording. I don't want to give coaches to people who are not going to help people. One time early on in the podcast, I had a lady, she had a client, and this is like, she's sharing, we're talking. She had a client, it's a gentleman, and she's divorced. And he had this client, this male client, for about 3 years. And she was not able to find him any match. And she's like, I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's wrong. And I'm just like, Jesus. I was like, the reason why this young man or this man can't get a relationship is because you don't know how to coach him. Even when I gave her some advice, you should tell your client to do this. She says, that's bad advice. That's terrible advice. I would never tell him that. And I was like, to be honest, I don't even care that she said it's terrible advice. It didn't hurt my feelings. I would take that episode, make a clip on it. And you know what I would say on it? This is an example of a bad coach. This is an example of someone you need to watch out for. And I would show people her saying that that was a terrible answer. And I would share some of the episode. I'm not going to like post it on the podcast platform, Spotify and things like that. But you go on YouTube, blown. I'm like, her cover is blown. And it's because you come from a good place. Typically, people do come from a good place, but the ignorance is like, whoa, sometimes you just don't see what you just said. I mean, it has happened multiple times with coaches, especially when it comes to relationship coaches. I always love speaking to communication coaches, relationship coaches, because I just want to see, because I typically do it in a way of I'll ask you a certain question in the beginning, and then I see if you contradict it in the end. And if you do, I'm going to say, what's really going on? And then I'll actually do a video, or I'll do, what do you call those videos? A reaction video of me doing the interview and then saying, okay, do you see what I'm saying, audience? This person said this in the beginning, and then they say this, and then they say this. Do you see how that's confusing to the mind? And I break it down, because mindset is so important and it has to make sense. Because if you have someone who's just kind of throwing things out there, yeah, that's going to be a bad coach. Another example of a bad coach, to me at least, is someone who tells you what to do. Like, for example, you need to do this, like buy crypto and buy NFTs and stuff like that. Yes, to a certain extent, you want someone who, like a financial advisor, and they're guiding you along the way. But for example, I always give a path. You got A or B. This is true from a kid, a child, to an adult. When you have a choice, you have power. I always give a choice, and it might be a small choice. Hey, do you want to go with this tie or that tie for your date? And it might be literally just one tie with circles and like one was diamonds. It might not be a big difference, but you get to make that choice. And I find that when you can make good choices, then you can start to transform your life. How can you help people start to make choices for themselves when they might be reliant on you as a coach because they trust you, they rely on you, but then also you want to teach them how to fish, not just feed them every single day?
Yeah, no, I mean, that powerful. What I'll say, like, it emotionally hits me personally, even the question, because I'm really good at giving people choices. And I had hurt me deeply because I had one of my clients angry at me because she wanted me to make the choice for her. And she was like, you need to tell me what to do. I knew what she needed to do. And she's like, well, why didn't you to tell me these things? Don't you understand this? And I go, no, it's not my place to tell you what to do. Because it's easy to tell a person what to do after the fact. It's easy to tell a person, hey, you should have dodged all those punches and then hit them with these punches. So, like, should I have done that? I didn't know to do that. Thank you. But when they're in it and someone feels like they're forced to do something, they'll almost always go to the opposite anyway. For her to say that, it was, as you were talking about seasons, sometimes those seasons suck. They hurt. I didn't want to lose her as a client. I really cared about her. I care about my clients like my friends. They're the same thing. But yeah, it just, I had to do what was right. And what was right was giving option. And she chose the wrong option, but such is life. Maybe one day, I'm 42 now. I've had people who have said things, been really, really upset with me, and 3 years later they come back and they go, I'm ready now. I can't, and it does suck. It sucks. We like to be liked by the people that we are around. We become bonded to them. And I can't change who I am to be bonded to someone. I can't lower my standard to be bonded to another person. And either they get it one day or they never get it. I am lucky enough to say that the people that I've connected with have eventually gotten it, and I hope this client eventually gets it too. But you're right, it's not a game. This is real serious stuff. We're playing with people's minds. To do it ethically, to do it honorably, it was actually kind of scary because I didn't realize how much power we really had when you really think about it. The psychology behind it all. It's a lot of power. And it's scary because anyone can call themselves a coach. I'm a coach. It's like, oh crap. And I went through a process of starting to understand, okay, I get this game now. People just need the paradigm shift that they need in the moment that they need it. And either they see that I did it or they don't. My people are going to find me when they need to find me. And so I just spread my message in every way that I can so the right people can find me.
And that's a great place to be in too, because you want to help them. You do everything for them, but then you also understand that they might not be ready for what they need to do. It's similar to lifting, right? Like you're not going to tell a 7-year-old to, lift 225. Probably not a healthy option. Depending on where you are in your life, you might have to build yourself up. If you're 300 pounds obese, we're not going to put you on the Stairmaster at level 20. That's probably not the right place to begin. You have to look at you, figure out where you need to begin. And sometimes you might have a overinflated ego. We can adjust that, but sometimes you do need to learn. You have to go through those mistakes. And I mean, I have learned from my failures more than I do from my successes. So when we make a mistake, when we don't have that W, I start to pay attention more. And so when my clients, they go through a choice that they make and they make the wrong one and they have a hiccup or they do something wrong and they're like, I remember you kind of hinting at this and I still did it. And then now it was just like an epiphany hit them more so than I said, all right, I don't want you doing this. Okay. It was just like, I don't recommend this. And then sure enough, they do it anyway. They're like, now I know. Now I understand. It's that moment there of transformation. And that is where I believe coaching is so powerful because, as you said, we do have a tremendous amount of power over their mind. And our goal should be to transform them into the best possible mindsets that they can have so they can get the life that they want and the life that they should be living. I do want to say that our conversation was a deep conversation of transformation and of coaching. It wasn't a blanket one of just talking about what you do as a transformational coach, but understanding that coaching is not a game. Coaching is something that is a deep dive into the mindset of a person. And the people who are ready to make serious changes in their life, get a coach, get a mentor, get a guide, someone who has did it, is doing it, or will do it with you, because that right there is going to show you that it is possible. As we begin to wrap up, I would love to get some final words from you, and then please tell the audience where they can find you.
First off, thank you so much, Michael. I appreciate you having me on, and I hope your audience found a lot of value through this. My final words is, in life, we're all doing the best that we can. And they say life will hit you with a feather and then a baseball bat and a semi-truck. I've been hit by a few semi-trucks myself. And just as you were saying, you've learned some of your best lessons from your failures. Well, you're not the only one. But I do say this, I look to get hit with as many feathers as possible on the journey. I want to learn the lessons quick. I don't want to get ran over. I want to make life as easy as possible, and I want to do it the same for others. So if you're tired of getting hit by semi-trucks and bats, let's connect. The best way to get a hold of me is either on Facebook, Clifford Starks, and you can also get a hold of me on LinkedIn. I'm in the process of building out my website. But if you just post, I'm a fighter, we'll connect. Because to me, I don't even think I said, a fighter to me is someone who's willing to go after their dream. That's all it is. Someone who's willing to say, I'm going to stand for my dream, for my reality, for what I know that I can achieve. And if you don't know you can achieve it, let's have a conversation, because there's something in there that's saying that you can't. It's just BS, though. Again, thank you, Michael.
Many people are living dreams that are not their own. The white house with the white picket fence and, the two kids and the dog and a cat. Whose dream is that truly? Maybe you don't like cats. You should have two dogs instead of a cat. But we were given something when we were very young. And some of those limiting beliefs can stop us from ultimately realizing our dreams and that we can do things. And getting a coach like Cliff is going to be what you need. And I say this all the time, because it's important not only to have someone in your corner that's going to be your biggest cheerleader, someone who has got hit by a bunch of semi-trucks and they want to make sure you don't get hit too. That's kindness. That's awareness all in one boat. Do your due diligence. Make sure that you can realize your dreams sooner than later, because at the end of life, regret is going to be there. And a moment when you could have taken an opportunity to reach out to Cliff and say, you know what? I am interested in finding out my purpose. I'm interested in finding out my dreams. I'm interested in transforming my whole entire life. Begin here, begin with Clifford. And I want to thank you so much, Clifford Starks, for coming on, spending a little bit of time with us and sharing your wisdom, sharing your story, and doing the work that you do. All right, everyone. I'd like to thank you so much for watching that interview with Clifford Starks and myself. What went on in that interview is we talked about good coaches, bad coaches. We talked about the mindset of coaching. We talked about what a person needs along the coaching journey. Because when you're trying to transform your life, it's not as simple as, oh, do this. This is the 5-step process, and then you're successful. How many blogs, how many videos have you watched on how to be successful? Are you successful yet? Probably not. Because what is going on is that you are just giving yourself information, knowledge, maybe some wisdom, but you're not applying action. The reason you might not be applying action, I'm not 100% certain unless I'm speaking with you. So head over to revenconcepts.com, check out Clifford's links in the description box below, and ask that question, like, why am I not showing up? Maybe after that first consultation, we can tell you. Sometimes it takes a little bit longer, but we do ask for the truth, because then we can get to the reason a lot sooner. Sometimes people are just afraid to succeed. because they have to take action. Maybe some people are in a financial bind and they're afraid to take some action because they're afraid that they're going to lose what little they have. I mean, there can be so many different reasons why you're not successful, why you're not showing up in your day. It could be something that you have grown up with, and you have to change it. Sometimes there's people in your life that are just not good people and you need to get rid of them. Sometimes you have to learn some accountability because you might have had a silver spoon and you feel like you're entitled, and we have to give you a wake-up call. I know society can say many different things and they can make you believe whatever they say, because I often say, if you tell yourself a lie long enough, it becomes the truth. And it doesn't matter who's telling you that lie, it will become your truth at some point. So if the news is telling you lies, eventually it becomes your truth because there's nothing to contradict it. You have to learn how to contradict the bad areas of your life. Why am I not winning? Why am I not making a 6 to 7 figure income a year? Why am I not having a happy marriage or relationship? Why can't I have a good body, a good mindset? What is stopping you from getting those things? Sometimes it's yourself. What have you been doing? What have you been taught that is giving you this mindset, that's giving you this lifestyle? Sometimes you might have this exorbitant lifestyle that you think is going to create happiness. That's some of my clients. But then most of the clients are coming from a place of scarcity. And they think that there's not enough success to go around. They think there's not enough happiness. There's not enough good relationships. There's not enough money for healthy foods, healthy habits, good discipline. There's not enough time in the day. Those people, they just need small adjustments in their mind. And when we start to do that, you start to see what you're truly capable of doing in the world. Sometimes the world will say that you can't do something, or that there's limits, or that things are impossible. You get to decide that. You get to decide what success is for you. You get to decide what happiness is for you. You get to decide where you spend your 24 hours. No one should tell you how to live life, but many people are living life in accordance to what others have told them to live. You're told to work a 9 to 5. Why are you not happy? Because you were told to work a 9 to 5. Someone told you to work a 9 to 5. Because you might think, oh, wait, there's another option. I could work less. I can do something different. And I mean, I could work 12, 13, 14 hours a day, and I don't care because I do what I want to do. Many people are doing things that they don't want to do. Yes, they might have chose that major. They might have chose that career. They might have went into the job and filled out the application. They did that, but it doesn't mean they want to be there. It doesn't mean that that's their first choice. Heck, it could be their last choice and they're still there. Why? And it's because we can create comfort in the worst places. You can sleep on a rock and you can get some good sleep maybe, but why sleep on a rock? Why not get some pine and, make a little bed or something like that? And I'm talking about if we're cavemen, but we're not. So if you have a bad spring mattress, don't sleep on it. Get a new one. You might not have money for a new one. Well, how do we get money? Do we work 9 to 5s? That's what you were told. You need a 9 to 5 to get your jobs. You need a paycheck to get your job. But you can begin to change your life. You can work a 9 to 5 and still be successful in your own right. But what people are doing when they work these 9 to 5s is they truly don't understand their worth. They don't understand their value. And so they do things that detract from their value. When they get back from that 9 to 5, they're so exhausted. They can't play with the kids. They can't have a good, deep conversation with their spouse or partner. They can't maybe even get up and walk after dinner, going to the gym. They just sit on the sofa because they're so exhausted. And it might not be physically, but it's definitely mentally. When you do the things that you were not meant to do, your truth is incorrect. You will find that you're more mentally strained than if you did things in your power. Than if you did things that you were meant to do, that you desire to do every single day. I can coach for hours and hours and hours and hours and hours, and I can keep on doing it. What people don't realize is, yeah, you can work in a factory for hours and hours and hours and hours, but for how long until you lose your mind? Figure out what you want to do. Figure out what needs to be adjusted in your life. Figure out what lies you have been told and then learn how to transform yourself into the person that you envision for yourself. Sometimes you're going to need someone like a coach, a mentor, a guide to help guide you along the way, to help uncover all of the dirt that was thrown on top of your dreams, of yourself, your mind. But the result is going to be you finally reaching the person that you are supposed to be, the person that you were destined to be. Why let that person sit idle? Why let those capabilities not come into reality? I'd like to thank everyone for watching Coaching in Session. If you have any questions, email me coachinginsession@gmail.com, and I'll see everyone on the next episode of Coaching in Session. Until then, everyone take care.